With the stock market at record highs, are you prepared for the next downturn? Corrections can be unforgiving. Smart investors know diversification is the key to financial security. Noble Gold Investments make it easy to diversify with gold. With over $2 billion in sales, Noble Gold has helped thousands of Americans add gold to their portfolios. Open a qualified account today and receive 2 5-ounce Silver America the Beautiful coins as a thank you. NobleGoldInvestments.com. Don't let the next correction catch you off guard. NobleGoldInvestments.com. Email us freedom@charliekirk.com. I want to reiterate something. Mike Pence is raising money from pharmaceutical companies to try to go up against Bobby Kennedy. I hope you all understand that Mike Pence is raising money to go run ads against the nomination and confirmation of Bobby Kennedy. We are a sick nation. I'm going to talk about this in the next segment. We are a sick, obese, medicated, alcohol-addicted, drug-addicted, slovenly country. It's time for us to have a public health authority that understands that what you eat is who you become. Organic food, getting proper vitamin D. You do not need a pill for every ill. And Bobby Kennedy will do a phenomenal job as Secretary of Health and Human Services. He will do a phenomenal job. And for any Republican senator out there, if you vote against Bobby Kennedy, there will be primaries. There is a force behind Bobby Kennedy, the likes of which you have never experienced before. We're talking about moms that were former Democrats. There are millions of people behind this. So vote for him, or else you may not be a senator any longer. There's some very serious questions in front of people that oppose Bobby Kennedy. Why is America so sickly? Are doctors always right? Do you think our public health authorities won our trust during COVID? Bobby Kennedy authored one of the sharpest critiques out there of Anthony Fauci. Bobby Kennedy was right all along during the COVID debacle. Now, I actually believe that God works all things out for good for those who love him, Romans 8:28, that us being displaced from power actually ended up being a very positive thing. Bobby Kennedy never would be close to becoming the Health and Human Services Secretary, would never even get close if President Trump would not have been displaced from power. Bobby Kennedy made a serious political investment, a serious investment into the grassroots to help form the Uniparty, to help form this grassroots movement of moms and health-focused advocates and activists. And I'm very happy to say we were part of history at Turning Point. Donald Trump endorsing or receiving the endorsement of Bobby Kennedy endorsing Donald Trump happened at our Turning Point event in Glendale, Arizona. Bobby Kennedy says clearly here in his hearing, worth repeating, play cut 138, he is not anti-vax, but in his advocacy, he's asked the uncomfortable questions. Play cut 138.
And I believe that that vaccines play a critical role in healthcare. All of my kids are vaccinated. I've written many books on vaccines. My first book in 2014, the first line of it is, I am not anti-vaccine, and the last line is, I am not anti-vaccine. In my advocacy, I've often disturbed the status quo by asking uncomfortable questions.
Now, understand, if you question the efficacy or the safety of vaccines, they call you anti-vax. Of course, vaccines can be a scientific miraculous breakthrough. The schedule has ramped up so dramatically since 1991. And if you even dare to say that, yes, there very well might be side effects, which, by the way, the labels themselves say. Every doctor will quietly say, well, of course there are side effects, potentially. But we can't say that, or else you're called anti-vaccine. It is a modern secular religion believing that vaccines are completely unchallengeable. And do you know that vaccines are one of the few things that we have where if something goes wrong, you're not able to sue the manufacturer? So if a car explodes and kills your kid, you should be able to sue the car manufacturer to make sure the car is safe for a future user and be able to get damages. If a vaccine gives your kid some sort of neurodivergent neurological disorder, potentially, you go to the vaccine adverse event reporting system, VAERS, and good luck. The entire incentive structure right now is trying to keep people permanently sick, trying to keep people permanently in a state where they can be controlled, where they are annuities for Big Pharma. We have an obesity problem with our kids. Half of our children by age 15 are overweight or obese. Only 3% of Japanese kids are overweight or obese. That comes to diet, that goes to movement, that goes to parenting, and all sorts of things. But our public health officials need to advocate for a health-conscious, focused agenda. And this becomes a national security threat, becomes a national morale threat. Kids are more likely to commit suicide, more likely to get on psychoactive drugs, more likely to be addicted to alcohol, less likely to be vibrant and active members of their community and society. Make America healthy again is an admirable cause. Who could be against that? Bobby Kennedy continues in front of the Senate. It's going to be quite interesting to see how Republican senators end up voting on it, for him or with him. Let's continue on some of the tape here from Bobby Kennedy's hearing. Let's go to cut 139.
All of these things cannot be true. So, are you lying to Congress today when you say you are pro-vaccine? Or did you lie on all those podcasts?
As you know, because it's been repeatedly debunked, that statement that I made on the Lex Friedman podcast was a fragment of the statement. I said there are no vaccines that are safe and effective, and I was going to continue for every person. Every medicine has people who are sensitive to them, including vaccines.
Right, so
he interrupted me at that point. I've corrected it many times, including on national TV. You know about this, Senator Wyden, so bringing this up right now is dishonest.
Senator Wyden is one of the worst. He is a perfect example of a pharma shill. And to be perfectly honest, he's also putting words into Bobby's mouth. Bobby has never said he's pro-vaccine. He's just said he's not anti-vaccine, and he is in favor of course, some vaccines, but it's actually not the core issue. The core issue is he wants to make vaccines better and safer and more effective. Blake is going to correct me here, but isn't the old Voltaire quote, to find out who's in charge, find out who you can't criticize? To find out who controls you, find out what you can't criticize? Is that Voltaire, or is that wrongly attributed to him? I bet it's wrongly attributed to him. But that is a perfect example. Oh, it was by a neo-Nazi falsely attributed to Voltaire. Thanks, Blake. Always uplifting. Oh, that's an uplifting fact check. I disavow. It's still a good line, but I disavow, obviously, the neo-Nazi part. But you can't criticize vaccines. And the media, this is so dishonest. Do we know what outlet this is, by the way? Did we find out? Let's play cut 132 up there. This is in the room where they are writing the articles about and against Bobby Kennedy, where the journalists already have their headlines written. They have the headlines written against Bobby Kennedy before he even uttered a line. This is what they wrote. RFK Jr. faces grilling on anti-vaccine comments and animal mutilation at confirmation hearing, Trump live updates. This is before anything happened. Before anybody said anything, they have their headlines already written. We've always suspected this is the case, but we've actually never seen the smoking gun where journalists just write the headline first and then they fill in the rest. Bobby Kennedy is pro-truth. Wherever the truth will lead him is where he will go. If vaccines are super safe, then why does Big Pharma need liability protection from the government? You're not even allowed to ask these very simple questions. Bobby Kennedy is trying to bring a wrecking ball to the Health and Human Services. It'd be one thing if everyone was super fit in our country. It's one thing if everybody was happy and full of joy. No, but we are a diseased country. We are the sickest we have ever been in our country's history. We're the fattest. We're the sloppiest. And Bobby Kennedy wants to go about fixing that. And one of the things that I really appreciate about Bobby Kennedy, it's a very empowering message. He fundamentally believes that every single person has it within your own free will and your capacity and your agency to be healthier. That you have the capacity to lose weight, to eat better. And what is wrong about trying to search for the truth? It is verboten, in the clearest possible way. It is forbidden across the board. And during COVID, did we not learn how corrupt and feckless our public health authorities are? And Bobby Kennedy is a response to that. COVID was a massive wake-up call. And let's not lose the lead here. As you're watching Bobby Kennedy get grilled by senators right now, that is Bobby Kennedy's son. That is JFK's nephew. I want you to think about that. That is the ruling class of the Democrat Party that is now back to grill the Democrat Party that they no longer care about health. And when have they ever? And by the way, the left always likes to make it seem as if they're the small guy fighting up against the system, that they're fighting against the establishment. Bobby Kennedy is picking the largest and biggest possible fight, which is against entrenched pharmaceutical companies, Eli Lilly, Pfizer, AstraZeneca, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, the massive, gargantuan vaccine manufacturers. Hundreds of billions of dollars are on the line. And health jeopardizes their profits. The healthier America becomes, the less money they could potentially make. If we no longer have the belief system that you need a pill for every ill, then what's going to happen to Pfizer's stock? The old joke goes, I've been on antidepressants for 20 years. When are they going to start kicking in? At what point do we ask the question that maybe this medication that these doctors are unnecessarily feeding us, the vast majority of it is completely unnecessary? Where there might be naturopathic and alternative means. The CEOs of these big pharma companies have fiduciary responsibilities to their stockholders to earn profits. Their mission is not to help to make Americans healthy. Their goal is to print and make money. So when Bobby Kennedy says make America healthy, right now at Pfizer, they want you sick. And to be perfectly honest, I have yet to see a free market zealot. I would love to be able to grill a libertarian or Milton Friedman if he was alive on this topic. Because it really is a contradiction. If you have companies that they actually make more money over time, the sicker you are, how does that reconcile with free market forces? It's a very difficult question. There is not an easy solution to that, by the way. There is not an easy solution. Because the old adage is, oh, well, you imagine how much money people would make if there was a cure to cancer. Imagine if there was a way to not heal it, but keep you coming back for the next 10 years on your cancer. Well, then you become a nice little check for Big Pharma for the remainder of your life. And this all ties in with the trans executive order. Healthy workers and healthy people are a threat to this entire empire. The Democrats are being incredibly combative to Bobby Kennedy, remarkably so. Because they know what Bobby Kennedy represents. There's trillions of dollars of industry that want to stop Bobby Kennedy. Because God forbid your 4-year-old stops eating high fructose corn syrup and doesn't get every single vaccine, every single one, and goes outside a little bit more and starts supplementing with vitamin D. No, that is a threat to what they want. A sick and diseased population is one that is easier to control. A sick and diseased population is one that is more malleable, one that is in the palm of their hands. A sick and diseased population is one that makes them infinitely more profitable. When we are talking about a restoration of a free society, it takes healthy citizens for us to get to that free society. To get back to the promise of our founders, we've said for a while, strong alpha men are a threat to tyranny. But overweight men with beer bellies are not a threat to anybody. We know that the testosterone rates in the West are plummeting. Infertility is a major and massive issue. They are not going easy on Bobby Kennedy at all. Let's play cut 146. Let's get a little taste.
COVID-19 was a genetically engineered bioweapon that targets black and white people, but spared Ashkenazi Jews and Chinese people.
I didn't say it was deliberately targeted. I just quoted an NIH-funded and NIH published study.
Did you say that it targets black and white people, but spared Ashkenazi Jews?
I quoted
and
a study, Your Honor. I quoted an NIH study that showed that.
It was an NIH study. But man, they are going straight into the bottom of the barrel. And by the way, COVID did affect different people differently. That is science. It is very, very slimy by Senator Bennett. Very slimy stuff. But that's what we expect from the Democrat Party. Good for you, Bobby. Fight back. We have your back 100%. This audience will not put up with anybody voting against you in the Republican Party. I would love to have somebody come on the program and tell me the case for if they think America is healthy. Forget all the particulars on Bobby Kennedy. I'm not going to win you over on that. But do you really think the state of American public health is in a good position? Do you think the state of American public health is strong? We are one of the fattest countries. Blake can get it. And I wrote about this in the book, and Blake helped me with the research and helped me put all the thoughts together. We're one of the fattest countries in the world. That alone should be a wake-up call. And the answer is not Novo Nordisk Ozempic. The answer is diet, movement, lifestyle, choice, agency. We want to make America lean again. We have a 41% obesity rate in this country. And I know a lot of you in the audience say, oh, it's not my fault. I'm not getting into that. The point is, let's fix it together. Let's fix it together. Bobby Kennedy continues in his testimony here. Let's play cut 148.
I reassure you that President Trump has personally spoken to me about locating those 300,000 children who disappeared over the last 4 years.
I don't think anybody has a fully accurate number, but it's hundreds of thousands, I agree.
And many of them we know have been sex trafficked and childhood slavery, and it is a blight on America's moral authority, and we need to find those kids.
We need healthy youth for our military. We need healthy youth for our country, for the vitality of our nation. We are in a circumstance right now where the major ag companies, the major pharmaceutical companies want you overweight. I'm not going to get into this topic. It's too controversial. Is obesity a choice or not? I think lifestyle plays a big role into it. I really do. but I also believe that people are being actively poisoned. It goes back to a theme that we say many times on this program, which is cui bono. It is the Latin phrase, cui bono. Who benefits? Who benefits if Bobby Kennedy is defeated and people remain fat and sloppy, unhealthy? Cui bono. Who benefits if Bobby Kennedy wins? I can tell you, if Bobby Kennedy wins and becomes secretary, which we're going to make sure happens, kids win, moms win, families win. Bobby Kennedy throws down the gauntlet on the Democrats. Let's play cut 149.
Americans don't, by and large, do not like the Affordable Care Act. People are on it. They don't like Medicaid. They like Medicare. And they like private insurance. We need to listen to what people, they would prefer to be on private insurance. Most Americans, if they can afford to be, will be on private insurance. We need to figure out ways to improve care, particularly for elderly, for veterans, for the poor in this country. And Medicaid, the current model is not doing that.
We need a full disruption of healthcare because we need healthcare, not sick care. More personalized, individual treatment. If somebody's experiencing issues, typically it's because of metabolic dysfunction that happened decades prior. We need to get to root causes and uproot the entire food pyramid. We want Americans to thrive. And I think what's exciting about Bobby Kennedy is you don't have to agree with everything he says. Blake doesn't agree with everything he says. That's fine. But we're willing to have a robust conversation on why are we overweight? What can we do differently? The biggest reason Americans don't thrive is not a lack of money. It's not even being unable to buy a house. By far the biggest source of our misery is how unhealthy we are. The lack of health in this country is actually the root cause beyond all root causes. And let's open this up, and every good, wacky, creative, crazy idea, we need to have it out. What I know, though, is the most high-functioning people in my life that I see are people that largely don't drink a lot of alcohol. They're people that don't do drugs. They're people that take exercise seriously. They take sunlight exposure seriously. And some of the most unhappy people and slovenly people are people that don't take that stuff seriously. But more than all of that, we need medical institutions, and we need institutions in general that promote the public health, not public misery, not public obesity. We should trust our medical institutions. And we know the CDC is captured. We know the FDA is captured. We know all these major institutions are captured. And Bobby Kennedy is going to go in there and disrupt it for your kids, for your grandkids. I could not be more behind Bobby Kennedy's ascension to HHS secretary. I believe fundamentally in the MAHA movement. People make fun of me that I'm like the MAHA mascot. And we need to have Bobby Kennedy's back.